Gearheads know that some projects need so many parts, it feels like you need a whole storage unit just to store them. That's what eBay Motors' 122 million parts are for. Think of it as your virtual parts garage. They've always got the right fitment at the right prices. Use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Hey everyone, this is the Almost World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Elmo's World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. Welcome to Elmo's World Podcast. This is Elmo. I'm with my friend Eric Johnson. Hey bro, can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah. Hey, Elmo, it's great to be on. This is actually my very first podcast I've ever been on. So anyway, yeah, my name's Eric Johnson. I'm 35. I live near the outskirts of Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the United States. I'm a painter. Let me see. I'm not really good at these intro things, man. Let's see. I've actually been to your country. I have two adopted brothers from there. So I've actually seen it. This was 20 years ago, but I still remember it. Very beautiful place. Let's see. I was raised in a pretty conservative family, to say the least. Great family life myself. I was homeschooled, and kind of sheltered in a way growing up, which, resulted in good and bad. Yeah, I've basically, I don't know. In a nutshell, I'd say that's it. I don't know what you want to get into, but yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Cool. And I've come to know that you're an atheist, my friend. But why?
Absolutely.
there is no
Why?
reason to be an atheist. I'm just playing.
There's
But yeah.
no reason to be an atheist. No, it's all good. Well, I mean, I guess I would label myself, to specify a little bit more, as an agnostic atheist. Insofar as we can't have 100% certainty on anything, literally, except for maybe the fact that we exist on some level. So, I mean, when I say I'm an atheist, it means I don't accept the claim that there is God or gods or a spiritual realm, or basically any of the gods that humans have worshipped or purported to know anything about. I don't see how an evolved ape on this singular planet amongst our entire universe could ever comprehend the qualities of any particular god or impose human personalities onto that god that is a creator. But I guess you'd have to define on what we're talking about when you say God first, because I don't know. I haven't talked to you really. Like, what are your beliefs on what God is? I guess I would have to ask.
Yeah, I'm basically an Orthodox Christian, but I'm more interested in what you believe
Okay,
because I want to dive deep down
sure,
into
sure.
your rationality as to why you don't think that there is a
Let's
God, or that there is no certain evidence as to why anyone should believe there is a God, because you say you're an agnostic and both atheist, right? So
yes,
in terms of you, the
yes.
atheist part is that your worldview currently doesn't, in the model that you have, doesn't have God in it, I guess.
That that would be correct. I haven't seen any sufficient evidence to suggest otherwise, or to
Mm-hmm.
suggest that God, he, she, it, they, whatever you want to refer to God as, exists, or that there's a dualistic spiritual realm aside from the world we live in. And obviously, like I said, we can't know these things with 100% certainty, but we can come to reasonable conclusions. And just based on, I was raised Christian myself, evangelical Christian to be specific. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's Protestant, not Catholic. Obviously, I'm sure you know that though.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the church my whole life, from before I could form memories. I was going to church, at least twice a week. I've read the entire Bible, Genesis through Revelations, twice. Once the King James Version, the first time when I was about 12, and the second time I was about 16, I'd say. I read the entire Bible again through the New International Version. So, yeah, that was granted 20 plus years ago, but I still, having gone to church, having heard numerous sermons, um, I was pretty much immersed in that growing up. So I've heard a lot of arguments, a lot of apologetics. Since then, as an adult, I've listened to a lot of debates, podcasts. Um, I'm not sure if you're familiar with shows like The Atheist Experience or Talk Heathen or any
Yeah,
of
I
those.
I
They're
I
basically
got
call-in shows.
yeah, I had a conversation with Eric Murphy once.
Okay. Oh, you did. Okay, I can't wait to out that I'm gonna definitely have to look that up after this convo. He's one of my faves.
Yeah,
I
he's a
uh
good guy.
I listen to the guy every week.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Props to Eric. Eric Murphy to be specific, not Eric me, but
Okay. So,
but yeah, I don't
mhm.
know. Sorry, I kind of lost track, but
Mhm.
what were we on about? I kind of
Well,
got off
in
off
terms
topic, I
of
think, a little
what
bit.
you said, I seem to get
Sure.
the idea or concept that all your life, your youth, you have been fed these doctrines of belief in God and whatnot, but it has all
Yeah.
failed you and brought you to this. I guess you're still on the fence position on whether or not God really exists, because the ones that were presented to you were not really reliable, nor were they that consistent. That seems to be the case in what you said.
That would be correct, like exactly what you said, except I wouldn't say on the fence. I say you know, in my opinion, leans more towards there probably isn't a God that created everything. Um, if there were, I don't see how us as humans would have any way of knowing that or the qualities of that God in specific. And I haven't. heard any good arguments or been presented with I'm not going to say not any good arguments, but not sufficient arguments or evidence to convince me that one does exist. So I'm just going off of the default position, you know, because it's talking about a God existing, that's a positive claim, you know. Um, so basically that's where I stand with all
Okay,
that.
cool. Well, I want to dive deep down into the
Sure,
worldview of an atheist, though, because like there is no
definitely.
God, right? And then there is no objective morality or whatnot, and there is no greater purpose. That would be the case. If I understand that correctly in your
Well,
position.
sure, sure. Now, okay, when you say objective morality, um, versus subjective morality, um, I mean, really, what would an objective morality look like, I guess, would be my question.
Well,
In your opinion.
objective morality would be a morality dictated by God Himself. So that would be what
Yes, no,
is
I
right and
understand
wrong.
that. Right, right. Now, I'm of the opinion that morality has been is part of us, and we have morality. Humans are a social species, so we've had to develop morality, um, just to survive as a species with all of our other qualities that we have. It helps us in groups and working in cohesion with others. Um, just like other organisms
Yeah, so
have their own
morality is
sense of
a
what you could call
evolutionarily
morality.
attained social construct, right? In which we arrange our
I would,
behaviors, right?
that was much more well put than I just rambled out. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in this case then like um abortion or murder or cheating, stealing, lying, whatever evil thing a Christian might say is objectively wrong, ultimately it's not nothing is really wrong and nothing is really good. It's all just subjective based on our social constructs that are evolutionarily attained. Would you agree?
Well, yes, within our social construct, though, there is right and
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah,
and
but
we've
within
decided
I
as a species.
well, who says that it's as a species,
But
right?
let it.
Like every person has his own subjective morality, has his own social construct. Why would a collective social construct be better than an individual's? So in this sense, though, there is no value in any social construct. It's all just the same. It's all just uh, cognitive concepts that we made in our minds, right?
Well, okay. You're talking about individuals having different morals, of themselves than others might have. But then as a society, we've decided upon, what's right and
But
wrong.
society is also made up of individuals, and these individuals in
Yes.
society have varying ideas of what society's moral construct is. So in a way, there is no collective morality. It's all just similarities of individuals' moral constructs, right? So in that sense,
You,
it is ultimately subjective. What is right or wrong is what you're saying, right?
yes. Okay. Well, okay, sure. Um, in that same effect, then, if morals were purely objective and derived from God, um, you know, the creator of the universe, um, would would that not also be okay? I guess it wouldn't be subjective, but I don't know how
Well,
that changes anything,
let's
really.
let's
I
compare it
mean, if
then.
there was
Let's compare it then. Is what if it's if
okay,
that's what you're gonna do? Okay, in a
sure,
theist's perspective, I would agree with
perfect,
you that there is an objective
yes,
morality, but also we as
hmm
individuals we have our own subjective moralities in that sense, right? If I myself
yes,
would have my own understanding of what I feel is right or wrong, but ultimately God will judge me on what deems to be objective morality. So in that sense I don't disagree with you.
okay,
We all have our
okay.
own senses of right and wrong, right?
Right. So you're saying that there definitely is a subjective morality, which is a social construct, but also um, that is superseded by objective morality
Yeah.
that is ultimately determined
Yeah.
by God.
Well, for
Okay.
me, like
So,
objective morality is just is God's morality, but in that, but because it's God's morality, He would
sure.
determine for Himself whether or not we are right or good or bad, right? But and but if you also believe in
Sure.
like a theist perspective, you know, there would be conscience, and conscience would ultimately reflect God's own sense of good or bad in humanity itself. But that's a different story, I guess. But you're right, you know,
Sure. Sure.
every
No.
person creates
And
his
I would
own
push back on
morality.
that, of course, but okay, yes, I definitely agree with that. Um, okay, I mean, I guess we could say, and you know, there's a subjective morality. I mean, we both agree on that point. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that God is the objective, though, above all of that. Now, how do we determine that? Like, how do we analyze that and come to that conclusion? Would be my
Mm-hmm.
question.
Yeah,
Like, how do we
but
know?
I guess that
And
those are
which God
good
are we talking
questions.
about,
I
actually?
guess those are good questions, you know, but to
Sure.
me, I want to talk about your point of view though. You know, okay, I grant
Okay,
that maybe
definitely.
God doesn't exist. Maybe there is no objective morality, but let's look at what the worldview of an atheist is when everything is ultimately
Sure.
subjective in terms of morality, right? So if I were like, let's say Hitler, you know, and I ruled
Okay.
over the world, you know. So at the end of the day, my if I say that Jews should be murdered and put in concentration camps, that would be the morality of the day also, because that I have power over the world, and so it would be actually good in that case, in that society, if I would kill a Jew, right? Because it's ultimately subjective, you
Would the
know. It's
Jews agree with that?
well, if there are no Jews
I'm
left,
just
though,
saying, okay,
yeah, if there are no Jews left, then
okay.
yeah,
Okay, well, okay. Obviously, from if you were Hitler and ruled over the world, from your perspective, everything you would be doing would be morally
right,
um,
more,
correct.
yeah,
And from your perspective, now
yeah,
from the perspective of all the people that would be getting persecuted and killed off and everything like that,
mm-hmm,
obviously that would be immoral.
mm-hmm,
And, like society would judge them based upon that.
mm-hmm.
Now, also, I mean, I don't believe there is no, I mean, I would say there is an objective reality in the sense that, like, we have created an objective reality, but it is within our subjective um, bubble, if you will.
What
Does
do you
that make
mean
any
that we
sense?
created an objective
Um,
reality? What do you mean by that?
well, maybe I shouldn't have worded it that way, but okay, like there are certain moral rules and things
What
that
what do you mean by moral rules?
we've agreed murder is wrong.
Well, some would
Forcing a do
disagree, so it
some
wouldn't be a rule, right? So
well,
what is a
sure,
moral
certain
rule?
individuals would disagree.
What is a moral rule though? What makes it different from individual subjective right and wrong?
Um, I would say, what is an Okay, what is an individual rule, and how does it make that different from what is right and wrong? Well, an
Yeah.
individual can be mistaken. I guess it's, I mean, and it is okay. I mean, there obviously individuals have different opinions on what is moral versus immoral,
Yeah,
and what the
but
greater good is,
But here's
and
what I think. Here's what I think.
uh,
What you said earlier was
okay,
that
what,
what morality was subjective and what it was evolutionarily attained, and it was just a social construct. In that sense, though, if we humans actually
yes,
evolved, into a species that actually loved pain, in a way that we benefit from pain biologically,
uh,
violence,
I
brutality
see.
in that world would actually be good, and not hurting someone or not killing someone would actually be immoral. So if you use that reasoning, you know, um, there is no actual rule that is applied because if well-being would actually
Okay,
be biologically uh in incoherent with what our biology wants, then it's it's not it wouldn't be good. So it's ultimately just mumble jumble. We're just making up words like morality, but it makes no sense, and everything would be permissible. Would you agree with that?
well, okay. I'm glad you brought up. What was the word?
Permissible.
Not the greater good, but permit. Okay, yeah, that, and I would say, I mean, it's a complex thing, but a lot of it can come down to harm reduction. Now, obviously, that's subjective to individuals too. I think that humans have like a basis of morality that most of us agree upon. And then when you get into the nitty gritty and pick things apart, obviously there become huge differences. And that does, result in violence and people justifying murdering each other over different, ideas on what their subjective opinion on what is moral versus immoral is. And obviously, that's something that also, I guess, has fueled our evolution and what our morality has come to at this point. But I guess I'm getting off point. You're saying that a subjective morality by God would be the ultimate reality or morality. And I guess, how would you judge that other from using your own subjective morality to analyze
Well,
whether
yeah, but
um,
we're not talking about
that
God
is moral
here.
or immoral? And why do you just assume that God is more,
But why we're not
like,
talking about God here? I just want to
just,
explore the
oh, okay,
atheist
okay, okay,
worldview.
okay.
So
Got
if you're
you.
an
Yeah.
atheist without a
Sorry, I tend
God,
to ramble sometimes.
it's okay.
So,
It's okay. I understand.
okay.
But I want to understand, like, if you're an
Gotcha.
atheist and you live in a
Sure.
godless universe, a God exclusive universe, how would I know what is
Yes.
right or wrong? Right? Because if it was just evolutionarily attained, then if I was a species that evolved into actually desiring death to be part of my life cycle, that and it would be actually beneficial to my well-being, or violence or being raped, if my biology actually wanted that, or needed that, then it wouldn't be
Sure,
evil.
sure. No, I see what you're saying. And if that were the case, and if, we were a species that had evolved, or if we, okay, just in this scenario, then you're saying if we had evolved into something else where pain and misery and what we would normally look at as bad would be actually beneficial to us, then that would be the moral.
Yeah.
thing.
So it's ultimately
Is
just
that right?
subjective, right? It's all just um words in our minds,
Sure,
concepts,
because
but
it,
it's
well, in
nothing.
that case, it would be. Well, I mean, okay, sure. If that was what was beneficial to our species, um, I don't think that we would experience it as pain or this and that. But let's just say that was the case. Um, then I guess that would be what was moral in that case. But that's not the case. We're human beings, and we have a we all have a whether or not we have different morals, I guess, that differ from each other. We've all agreed upon, certain laws and certain things, and I know that we're
Yeah,
always fighting over
but
it, but
ultimately,
it's a
again,
never-ending, evolving thing,
yeah,
you know?
but when you say like we all agreed upon these laws, like what are these laws? We just agreed on them. They're not real. They're just marks on paper, and then these laws ultimately are just
Sure.
thoughts in our mind, and they're nothing but atoms or electrons moving and stuff. So ultimately there's not nothing different from that than what I would think is good or bad, and so nothing would prevent me to say that this is good, this is bad. And to me though, if you believe in a worldview where there is no God, it would ultimately be it would or have or implicate moral nihilism. But that's my opinion. But I don't. Would you disagree with me that moral nihilism isn't your current worldview right now?
I would definitely say moral nihilism wouldn't be. Um, just for the fact that nihilism, I mean, if you're defining nihilism as like basically, there's nothing really matters. So why worry or care about anything? Because nothing in the grand scheme of things, you know, that may be true that nothing in the grand scheme of things, like we're just a little blip on the radar of this huge, vast universe. But at the same time, within our subjective experiences, there is a lot of meaning into life. And we experience that in all of these amazing, beautiful, complex ways. And, so in that sense, I'm definitely not a nihilist. I mean, I want, you know,
What do you mean by
I,
beautiful?
I have a lot of things I believe in.
What do you mean by beautiful?
What do I mean by just everything around. I mean, there's beauty. I mean, there's also horrible things as well. I mean, but I think that we're lucky to be here and exist right now as a species as we are, and to analyze the world, and to have technology to the point where
Okay,
we
but
can
can I
sit and
ask,
talk
like,
on
what is
opposite
beauty
sides of
though?
the globe.
What do you
Sure.
think? What is beauty?
What is
Is it just a social
Well, that's
construct?
subjective too, obviously.
So it's a social construct as well.
What is
It's not real, you know.
It's an evolutionary and social construct, I would say. I mean,
Yeah.
beauty is a subjective thing. I
Basically
mean, when
it's
you look at something
meaningless
and you say
too.
that's beautiful,
So it's aesthetic
in the sense
nihilism
of
too.
meaningless, it's meaningless to the universe, but it is not meaningless to us,
But aren't you
I
part
guess
of
I
the
would say.
universe as well?
Um,
Or are you separate from the universe?
I'm part of the universe.
Exactly.
Every, the universe being right, right.
if it's meaningless to the universe, it's also meaningless to you, unless you're saying that you're something different from the universe, right? Like something a theist
Well,
would say.
I'm a part of the universe. The universe is the entire system in which
Yeah.
everything
So if you're part
exists,
of
right?
the universe,
Okay.
beauty, good or
Yes.
bad, would be meaningless to you, right?
No, not to me though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Beauty and all those things. I
but you're
mean,
no
these are
different,
descriptive
but
terms that,
you're no different from the universe. As you said, you're part of the universe, and if it's meaningless to the universe,
Okay,
it's
but
also
you're
meaningless
saying
to
I'm no
you.
different from the universe. So are you saying like Eric equals universe?
I'm not
Like,
saying Eric is equal to
you know what
universe.
I'm
I'm
saying?
saying Eric is part of the
I'm
universe.
not the entire universe.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
I'm a
Eric.
small part of a huge universe.
Yeah, but to me, like,
So
but what you're saying is that beauty or morality is meaningless to all parts of the universe. So not just to some of the
yes,
universe,
except for
except for
human
Eric.
beauty and human morality would be meaningless to a
Everyone.
rock or
But
anything
what
else
makes
that isn't
humans
a human.
different? What makes humans different
What makes humans different than
than a rock? Because we are
um
all just we came from a biogenesis. We were all long living life forms before. We only just evolved, and when
I agree.
yeah, and every human being, we came from our father's sperm and our parents' egg cells, but all came from nutrients, from what they ate, from the oxygen that they breathe, the water they drink,
Yes.
and so we are all basically just matter. If we weren't created by God, there would be no difference between a human being from a rock, because we're all just part of the universe, a meaningless universe. So why would we humans be different?
Okay, because a
Why?
human being
Because we
and a
have human
rock. I mean,
rights.
okay. Okay, a human being and a rock, though, that's kind of, that's kind of a silly comparison, I would say,
But yeah,
because
but in
obviously, a
terms of
human is a biological organism, and a rock is, a
okay,
rock. Even if
but
we came
what
from
makes a
rocks
human
or whatever
different
you want
from
to say,
a microorganism? They're both life forms, or what makes you
okay,
different from a tree?
we are,
Because of consciousness is what you're saying. Because we have consciousness.
we all have different. Yes, yes. Well, that would be, yeah,
But
we have
so
consciousness. That would be a big
okay,
difference. We're also a system composed by microorganisms, correct?
okay, okay. But the
Like a
question
human
is,
body would be,
but the question
sure,
is,
sure.
but why would having a consciousness make you special though? Why? Why would our ability to think,
Uh,
our cognitive ability, to value things, to see beauty and to see good and evil in things, why is it so special?
well, it would be special in our aspect of looking at things because, as far as we know, which our knowledge is limited, but there's no other species, at least on this planet, that has the cognitive, obviously different cognitive abilities or whatever. But I would say that what makes someone different from a tree would be like, okay, self-awareness, for instance. Um, I don't know if all plants are not self-aware. I don't, see evidence. I've seen evidence actually in both ways, but
That's
we be
already, I guess, like when you
that's a
say
different
that.
thing too. Yeah, we could get into that, but let's stay on topic, I guess. Yeah,
But
sorry, man.
like when you say that you don't know, or you don't know if plants have consciousness or not. Well, that's funny because we all know that plants don't have consciousness, right? Unless you're
Do we
saying that.
really though? No, I'm just kidding. I don't want. We don't have to get into that. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I suspend my belief that plants have consciousness in the same way I suspend my belief
That
in a
God is
God.
real.
As
Okay.
I'd have to see
Well,
more evidence to confirm that point. I guess.
okay. So this is the real question, though, right?
Sure, sure.
When you say that beauty, morality, all those things, they're meaningless to the universe, and then you break down to say that, but humans are different. We are exempted from that. Because we are self aware. We have consciousness. But what is consciousness though? Consciousness is simply a systematic organization, and which is very complicated of atoms in our brains, right? Our brains ultimately are
Right.
just matter, and just some electricity, some, I don't know, maybe I don't know what consciousness is made of, but basically consciousness is just part of the universe itself, you know. But who said that because your brain is organized in this way that everything certain emerges from meaninglessness into something meaningful? You know, who set that line, who set that threshold? You know, who says that a monkey
Who
can't
set
say
the
the
threat?
same? You know, who says a
Oh,
fish
sure, sure.
can't make meaning, can't make a sense of beauty? You know, and who says a
I
germ
believe
can't?
that
Who
that
says a rock can't?
right.
Right? Who says
Well,
the whole,
okay.
you know?
A
So
rock
so
versus a living
basically, yeah,
organism.
basically what I'm
Those would be
saying
two.
is like it's what you claim to be, you know, of value, or something that can make something valuable or have meaning, is also subjective. You know, it's ultimately
Yes,
not worth
it
nothing.
is subjective.
Yeah, so
How, just because it's subjective, why does that mean that it's worth nothing, though? That's the connection I'm trying to make.
well
Because it's
okay,
obviously
but
worth
what
something to us as humans, but not like does the sun care whether or not you kill someone, for instance? You know, like it
yeah,
to the universe.
okay.
Why does our individual human actions as an organism on this one planet
Well,
matter
well, I agree
whatsoever?
with you. You know, this is something interesting.
Okay,
You
okay.
know, this is, you're right. I agree
Yeah,
with you that
definitely.
we humans, you know, are in a meaningless universe, you know, that seems to be broken and fallen and like chaotic, you know, entropic. Like we humans arise from evolution, and we
Yes.
become certain creatures with cognitive abilities able to see a different essence of the universe, which is beauty, morality, you know, the value of human life. We can see dignity, virtue, all this stuff that
Yes.
is what would actually make no sense to any other species, you know, except the human beings. This is something worth exploring
Right.
as to the human condition. You know, and to me, I seem to hear from you that you do not deny that there is a good or bad, that there is something beautiful, and it is subjective. I would
To
agree with
us.
you. Yeah, it is a,
Yes.
but to an individual, it is real. You know, like to me, what I
Yes.
define as
Yes.
good, what I define as beautiful is real to me, right? So there is something
Right.
real
Right.
about these things, about goodness, about uh, uh, you know, about beauty, and that's something you yourself don't deny, and that's really interesting. It's
Definitely. Okay, let's back it up a little because before you were talking about consciousness and everything being just atoms and molecules and everything. Um and what is consciousness and all of that. I think consciousness would be an emergent property that we developed through evolution. So when we see things and we make judgments on them as to whether something is beautiful or ugly or good or bad or pleasant or unpleasant, and we have different. It's a very complicated chemical biological process going on in our brains, and just the way, kind of the same way. Okay, let me try to. Okay, we have sight. Okay, we can light waves hit our eyes, and we experience that through our consciousness, right? We have smell. We have all of our senses, right? And those those experiences, our consciousness is a way of basically it's evolved over time, um, and it's been beneficial to our survival, which is why that consciousness has been evolving into the way that it has um, today. I guess I could probably put that in a better way, but I don't know. Does that answer your
okay. So what I'm hearing from you is that, you know,
yeah,
there's a nihilistic universe
Yes.
at some
Yes.
point, there is a creature that evolved into something that is actually meaningful. Something a
Yes.
meaningful creature emerging from a meaningless universe, and that's awesome. That's
That's a
amazing.
good way of putting it. I won't push back on that. No.
Okay. That's
I
beautiful,
would
man. Like
say,
I would
yeah,
not agree with you. I would not disagree with you. I mean, like,
that's great. That's great. We can definitely agree on that then.
and so
Yeah, because I mean, the difference, I guess, then that we would have is I believe that morality has, no, we both agree that morality, in the way that, we just described, exists in a subjective way to us. Now, I guess as an Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox Christian, you believe in a specific, and we don't, I know this is you interviewing me, so I guess I don't have to ask you, you know,
yeah,
everything, but I guess my only question would be like, you believe in a specific God, the God of Christianity, and even beyond that, a specific, type of Christianity and interpretation of the scriptures and that God. And, all around the world, there's all these other religions that believe just as fervently in their own gods as well as you do. And they have their own theologies and apologetics and just as sincerely and strongly held beliefs as to why their gods exist and are active in their lives, and they have personal relationships with him in the universe, everything like that. So how, as an atheist, how do I differentiate which God, if any, have, are the actual God, and then that would mean that all of the other ones, not just the ones existing today, but all the tens of thousands that gods that have been worshipped throughout human history, which one is the actual God?
well, that
I
is a
mean, I
great
don't see
question,
any
and
way to get to that point.
I think I can help you with that. I myself,
Okay.
I love philosophy. I study philosophy and apply it with my in my life. And to me, there's a certain branch of philosophy that interests me a lot, which is epistemology. The how do we
Yes,
know
I'm
what we know?
familiar.
How do we know things? When we talk about
Absolutely.
and when you talk about like knowing which God exists or is real, specifically to which religion is
Yes.
right, that assumes that there is a God that exists. You assume that if you want to search which one is right. Am I correct?
Right. I was saying,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
if hypothetically, if
Yeah.
I were a theist
You would
or
assume that
wanting to be one, or
you would have to assume that God is real before you're able to choose whether which one is right, right?
exactly, that would be the
Okay.
starting point.
So
And,
if we
and for
assume
me
that,
personally, I don't even have,
mhm. But if we
if we assume
assume,
that, which
yeah,
I'm not even assuming that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
if we assume that, I'll grant you that for the conversation. Yeah,
okay,
sure.
okay. So if we assume that God exists, it means that we assume a dualistic universe. When you say dualism, it's not just a material universe, but there's something outside of it or something deeper in the universe, which is also real.
Right. So,
It's part of reality, but it's not
right.
part of the material universe. And theists would use the term spiritual, but I wouldn't use spiritual, but I would just say, part of the a part of the dualism. That there's something transcendent from material or the physical realm. And when you discuss
Okay.
the philosophy of mind, what consciousness is. A lot of scientists would
Yeah.
tell you that consciousness would not make sense in a physical reality. In a physical universe, consciousness would not exist, and they make the scientific theses and papers on that, a lot of it. But I don't want to go dive into that. But what I want to dive
Sure,
into
that's fine because
is
I was
like,
just gonna say, like, I'm not. I haven't read any of these
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
scientific
But
papers or
yeah,
whatever.
but
I'm
what
not
I,
super
mhm.
educated and all that.
Yeah,
But
but you were asking me
okay.
which
Anyway, yeah.
one
Continue.
is
Sorry, I wasn't
which
trying to
God is
interrupt.
right, right? And to me,
Right. Right.
epistemology is the best way you can do it, you know? So
Absolutely. I
there
would
are
agree with
different
that.
ways you can know things. One is that is a priori, which is that uh so, some knowing without experience or without like senses, you know. So it's either intuitional or it's something that is mathematical or rational, you know. It's just purely in your mind.
Something that makes sense to you, basically.
Yeah, but
Okay. Sure.
there's
Sure.
also a
Gotcha.
way to know like posteriori, like for example, like through senses and experience, like scientific or empirical, or you know, like observing from
Empirical
your
evidence.
eyes and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so a priori, posteriori. But when we assume that there is a spiritual reality like beyond this physical realm, I I think that the best way you could know which God is right is through knowing through yourself, you know, looking deep in yourself and understanding each religion, looking at them and which one actually gives you spiritual and real spiritual knowledge of who God really is. You know, and to some, you know, that might be like that just you know. But the question is then like, how do I know if I have the right spiritual knowledge of who God is? No, but the thing is, you know, when you look at
That
the
would be the question.
yeah, when you look at like what is the nature of God, and a lot of Christians, Muslims, everyone would tell you like God's nature is unfathomable. So in a way, it's really hard to decipher whether or because if I have
His
a
ways are
feeling,
beyond us,
yeah, if I have
basically.
a feeling that, oh, this concept of God that I have is right, well, you're probably wrong because you're limited, you know, you're just a human. So I guess,
Right.
yeah, so I guess
Absolutely. So,
the real question is then, you now that you have spiritual knowledge that God exists, you know, it's your epistemology, then you match it up with a wholesome and coherent worldview that fits into what could be the proper concept of God and who brings these claims. You know, would it be the Muslims, would it be the Hindus, the or the Taoists, would it be Christians, you know? So I guess then that would be a personal exploration for you, and I wouldn't tell you otherwise. But to me, you know, I myself, I'm a really really skeptic person, and that's why I
yeah.
would call
Okay.
myself an agnostic theist. I'm agnostic in the sense that I cannot ultimately know for certain that God exists, there is a God, but I would believe that there is
Right.
one. And my belief relies
I,
on things that you yourself do not deny. I do not deny that there is a good out there, that there is something that is truly beautiful, you know, that there is actually a virtuous person, things like that I think you wouldn't deny as well. And that's where I stand on why and which God I think is right. And you know, I wouldn't say that, oh, look at Christianity, convert. I want you to just explore for yourself in that sense, you know.
okay. Sure. And I mean, I have explored. I mean, lots of different religions and everything.
But have you
Um, I,
explored all of
I'm
them?
big into. No, of course not. There's way too many. I don't think
Yeah,
if
but
I had 10 lifetimes, I don't think I would have even a fraction of the amount of religious knowledge of
but to me, you know,
all the
I
religions
think,
that have been.
yeah, I believe, bro. Like, you know, I'm Eastern Orthodox, and I think
Right.
most mainstream Orthodox Christians believe that every human being has the ability to come to God, whether or not it is it is biblical, is it Christian? Because you might not be presented the gospel, but you can come to God right now, and whether it's the Muslim God, whether it's whoever God someone claims it is, that the real question is there a God, is there not? Then if you whether or not and I don't care if you choose a religion, I think that's secondary. What's important to me is
Okay, sure.
that you settle your differences with who God is right now, and just in your lifetime and where you are right now, the best choice would be to, well, to grow in that, to understand him more, and actually the way to do that is to pursue the truth, and I think that
Hey, I'm all
everybody is
about
capable.
pursuing the truth, man. I
Yeah,
want to believe in as many true things as possible and
yeah.
not believe as many false things as
And I,
possible,
I I I agree with you, bro,
Um,
and I respect that. And if to me, if there is no bias in your choices, and if no one presented the right religion to you, I don't think God would hold that against you, you know. But the real question is
yeah, and
that
so far,
the
okay,
real
sure, sure.
question
So
is, like,
go on. Sorry.
irrelevant of religion, irrelevant of whatever man-made beliefs there are. Like, with you just
Yes,
looking deep into yourself, and knowing that there is a real good, that there is a real loving person, there is love for your wife, your child. It's real. The virtue being
it's real in
courageous.
my mind, in my subjective human experience as
Yeah.
related to other humans.
Hmm.
Yes, yeah, I'm just putting a caveat
Yeah.
on that, but yes, yes, yeah. Go on.
So that's my suggestion. But I would like to ask you one last question,
Okay,
because
sure.
it's been really a great
Definitely.
conversation, man. And you know,
Yeah, man, I've been having fun. This is the first podcast I've ever been on. Like I
awesome,
said,
awesome.
I think it might be
And
more.
I talked a little bit, but you asked me that, and I wanted to really, explain it elaborately and clearly. If that was all right.
Oh, you explained it very well.
Okay, thank you.
Um, you haven't converted me, but
I don't
no,
convert, bro. I just talk,
it's
man.
been a very interesting discussion for sure.
Awesome,
Definitely. I
awesome.
know that's not your motivation here, but
Yeah, but one last question. Like, you being
for sure.
someone, who cannot deny that there is something real for yourself, but ultimately you're just something that's evolved, something come out from a meaningless universe. What kind of life would be the right way to for you, or the right path to live it? Because you're in a meaningless universe, but you're someone that can give meaning
Sure.
to everything. How would you live your life?
I personally, like, my personal morals that, like, I figured out, I think there is a good thing from the Bible, which is the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And, I mean, you got to recognize that we have, human empathy and things like that, and we can work with those things. And, just a lot of it is about, the greater good for humanity. I'm a humanist, so I would say, like, human well-being. I would say well-being. That's the phrase that you used before that I was trying to remember what you said, but I would base my morality more off of human well-being and um, what the um, what the maximum amount of um, benefit and minimal amount of harm um, within the human subjective experience, of course, would be. Um, I don't know if that makes sense in the way I put it, but I, I think that that's basically what morality would entail. Now, obviously, we could go deep into, what is the best thing for people in this sense or that sense and all that. And, that would be an interesting conversation too. But, I think if you were to simplify it, I would put it down to that, um, morality should be based off of human well-being.
Awesome. Okay. Well, man, I do not disagree with you. I love humans and I want everyone to have the best of their lives. And thank you so much for your time here, man. It's been a great conversation.
Hey, man, I've had a great time, honestly. Yeah, I'd love to do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we can talk about why Trump won.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother. Oh, we can definitely get into that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a different podcast.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr. And thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like grandma's meatballs, or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.